Hello, welcome back to Vibrant Voice, the podcast where you learn how to develop your confident speaking voice. I am your host, Amber Rose West. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Today we are going to talk about something that is a personal experience to me and something that I'm now beginning to realize is something that other people experience, and it's stage fright. Yep. And stage fright isn't just, the little bit of nerves that you feel before you speak in public. It's not the butterflies in your tummy. Those are some of the symptoms of stage fright. But stage fright has been defined and described as an actual attack on the brain and body before public speaking or before getting on stage to be in front of other people. There's a difference between the two. We're going to get into it today, but one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about stage fright is because stage fright is something that I experience on a personal level. I've never talked about it in public before, but I'm beginning to realize those of us who are educators, those of us that are here leading the charge, especially with something as commonly feared as public speaking, that it's really important that we be transparent about our experiences. The other episodes of this podcast are very educational. I want everyone that listens or watches this show to feel like they can come here and know that they're going to learn something and they're going to get actionable advice to then go and practice developing their confident speaking voice. Now, this episode is going to be a little bit different. I am going to still have a little bit of education and there are going to be pieces of actionable advice. I also want to share with you my experience of stage fright, how it is that it came to be something in my life, how it is that I still handle it and manage it as a public speaking coach, as a confidence coach, because yes, I still do experience it today, but also how it is that it doesn't have to stop you. Stage fright doesn't have to stop you from doing your things. So how is it that you can still have the experience of stage fright and still be an amazing public speaker, teacher, leader? I want to start by saying, for me personally, stage fright was one of those things that I don't think that I really understood. I knew that I was having a physiological reaction, and it wasn't until later that I had someone explain it to me as stage fright in my younger years. So when it comes to speaking in public, so if I'm to lead a meeting or teach a class or get on stage and be an MC, if I have a speech to give, those things actually do not ignite my stage fright. But what does ignite my stage fright is getting on stage to sing for other people. So I have a pretty decent singing voice as something that has been developed over the years, but when I was a child, I didn't really understand what singing was. And I think that this is something that's pretty common among children. I've seen a lot of videos on Instagram and TikTok showing kids who are in the car listening to their favorite songs, and you just hear them yelling from the back seat, right? And as I start to think about this in my own brain, how I see it now that I am older is that children don't necessarily understand the difference between singing, actual singing, and carrying a tune and singing a chorus. They don't understand the difference between that and just having a very loud voice, right? Like, I'm singing something out loud right now. I'm singing. They see adults singing, and what they see is projection. What they see is a performance, right? But as a child, there's no way for them to differentiate between having a loud voice, which tends to sound like yelling to them, and actually singing a tune and projecting in those kinds of things. So when I was a child, I yelled from the back seat. I yelled from the back seat. I thought that I was singing from the backseat, but I was actually yelling. And I think that that's a very normal thing for kids because we haven't, again, differentiated between, having an elevated voice or yelling and singing. So I used to yell from the backseat. I loved music. My mother played music for us growing up in the house. And so I tend to pick up lyrics and tunes very easily. And they would stick with me, and then I would want to sing them all the time. When a song came on the radio, I was the kid in the backseat yelling her lungs out. And I had another family member who used to make fun of me for it because I hadn't developed any kind of singing voice at all. And so there was this running joke in the car, Mariah Carey came on and I'm singing my heart out in the back, what I think is singing my heart out. And my family member would say, "Hey, Amber, who sings this song?" And I'd be like, "Mariah Carey." And he would say, "Yeah, let's keep it that way." Right? Ha ha ha. It's just a little joke. My little brain was like, okay, and he's obviously telling me that I'm not Mariah Carey and I shouldn't sing this song anymore. And I got that, right? I didn't understand the joke as a child, but I kept singing for a little bit of time. And as he kept saying the joke, as it kept being like, "I don't want to hear you yelling," for me in my head as a child, it was, he doesn't want to hear me sing, right? And so after a while, I just stopped singing because it was very clear to me that somebody in my family who I looked up to was telling me, "You're not good at this. Stop doing it and leave it to the professionals," right? That's how my childhood brain really ran through what was being told to me. And so, I didn't actually remember this until it was probably about 10 years ago when I was in my mid-20s and I had really bad stage fright around singing to the point where I would sing. I developed my singing voice in places where we're allowed to sing. So in high school, I did concert choir. All growing up, I did musical theater. I played instruments. And so learning how to read music, I developed those skills over time. And I was in my mid-20s and people found out that I could sing and let's go to karaoke, or I'm working on this song. Will you sing a little bridge or sing a little hook or do some little background vocals? And I would try to do it and my entire body would shut down. And I wanted to do it because I love to sing. You get me into a shower by myself, it gets real loud in there. I'm singing at the top of my lungs. I'm belting it all out. I'm having the best time of my life. But the second I leave that bathroom, I put my voice back away into its secret little box. Every once in a while, I'll be caught singing or humming if I'm cooking, if I'm at work, little things. And so when people hear, they go, "You have a nice singing voice." "Thank you very much. You should come sing with us." Absolutely not. I don't want to do any of that because even the thought of it at that time would cause my body to completely shut down. So when I would attempt to sing, especially if I was on stage with a microphone, my entire body would shake. And then I couldn't control the shaking. And so my voice sounded like it was coming out of a fan, right? And I'm trying to sing this song and it's just like I'm uncontrollably shaking. And so I stopped, I pulled myself back in from singing in front of other people. I developed my speaking skills in college. I very much wanted a communication degree that focused on public speaking specifically. At the time, I had career goals that would really require me to speak in front of large crowds and in front of other people. And so public speaking was a huge piece of my education. Mixing that in with the confidence education that I received after I graduated from college, I started working on why it is that my body had this physiological reaction to singing in public. It wasn't necessarily that I was a little bit nervous. It wasn't that I was, scared of what people would think of me. Although that is kind of a big piece of it. It wasn't how it went in my brain at the time. It was more that my physical body would react and shut down and say no. And so as I became a great public speaker, and then I would tell people that I had stage fright around singing, it doesn't make sense, right? Isn't it kind of the same thing? You're getting on stage, you're in front of people. How is it that you can be a great public speaker, but you can't get up and sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? And the way that I look at these two activities is that getting up to speak to an audience really feels like, I do believe that speaking is a performance of some kind. You're getting up to perform, you're performing for other people, right? But the difference is that when you get up to speak, and there are a list of different genres of speeches that you can give. And yes, one of them is entertaining. But for the most part, and the speaking that I have learned to do and have built my career on, is speaking to educate, right? So it's this performance but it's also educational. And I love being a teacher. I love being a coach. I love being a speaker that comes and imparts information. Having this podcast has been one of the best accomplishments of my life because I get to do what I love every time I get behind the microphone, I get on screen and I'm speaking. I feel very comfortable here. And if I was put on the spot at any point, at any event, and someone said, we need someone to get on stage and speak right now, I would raise my hand and say, what do you want me to speak about? No fears, no qualms, no anything. I believe that singing, on the other hand, same type of performance, but it's a performance to entertain. And when I think about the idea of performing to entertain, so much anxiety overcomes my body. Even just saying it out loud right now, like how to entertain people. Yes, there is a fear of judgment, and yes, there is a fear of criticalness of my voice, right? And I think that a lot of this has come to be a reality for me as I've grown up, because we have entertainment shows that really facilitates this judgmental, critical idea around entertainers, right? What is it? American Idol. And so you think you've got talent, you know? And so for me, I know that my audience is already excited to see whether or not I'm a good singer. I was lucky enough to develop my singing voice around other singers and musicians who very much valued unique singing voices. I had a friend of mine who had a song, and he was trying to help me break out of this fear, this stage fright around singing. And so we would practice in his living room, and he would just let me sing, and I would try to sing one of his songs, and I would say, I can't sing it like you. I just want to be able to sing it like you so that I know it sounds good. This was a big stick for me. Like, I want it to sound like you so that people know it sounds good. And he had to continuously remind me that there is something so beautiful about us singing the same song and it sounding different. Between him and I as artists in the living room, yes, that sounded amazing. But in my head, I thought, but the second I get on stage, nobody knows that this is the agreement that we've come to together, that our voices aren't going to sound the same, and that's the beauty in it. They're looking for me to be you or do it like you, and I can't, I don't know, right? So I clung to all of these anxieties and nervousness, the nerves, excuse me. I clung to the anxiety, I clung to the nerves, and then my body continued to have this shaking physiological reaction, as I call it, stage fright. It does actually, my body doesn't get cold, but my whole body feels like it's reacting to being super cold or super afraid. You know, kind of like, I think about Scooby-Doo. When like somebody's really scared, they're like, oh no! My body does that. My face doesn't do it. My mouth doesn't do it, but my actual body does. And so I don't have stage fright with speaking, but I absolutely have it with singing. Now, do I still have stage fright with singing? Yes, I sure do, right? And one of the ways I have sung, recently. I've been practicing little by little those steps of overcoming the fright, the actual stage fright that happens when I'm singing for other people. And just FYI, they call it stage fright, but it's literally, I don't have to be on a stage. If I'm standing in the kitchen with 5 of my friends and someone's like, will you sing us a little song? My whole body starts to shake and I get really, really nervous, right? So it's not necessarily about being on stage, but it's about the action that you would take if you were on stage per se, and so I started picking apart why it is that this is happening, why it is that I can be such an amazing public speaker and such a scaredy cat singer, right? I did the work to trace it back to the origin, which was my family member in the car telling me that other people are better singers and we should leave it to them and I should just stop, right? When we think back to, so for those of you who have been following me through my confidence coaching, we have the idea of imposter syndrome, right? And as I studied imposter syndrome, the 1978 research studies that have been done by Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne A. Imes, that imposter, every single person that was inside of that study sourced their imposter syndrome to a childhood memory or experience. And it wasn't all of them, but it was about 75 or 80% of them related it to a family member. And so a situation happened with a family member that created this thing inside of them as children that stuck to them in their heart, in their head, so that as they grew into adulthood and their careers, they still felt those feelings of not being good enough, not being worthy, not supposed to be where they were at, despite the fact that they had earned it and had these accomplishments, or even developed the skills that, for me, I had developed my singing voice. Now I have a great singing voice because I developed it. I was a kid yelling in the back seat. Now I'm a singer that can sing because I spent the time with my vocal coaches. I spent the time in concert choir. I spent the time learning how to sing different styles of music. And so, yeah, I'm a good singer now. But that piece, that piece that was stuck inside of me as a child from my family members still is there. And my body remembers it. It's not just that it's a memory in my head that I can say, Amber Rose, it's okay to let that go. There's somewhere in my body that remembers that. And even though I'm ready to get on stage and I'm ready to sing this song, the body goes, but do you remember back then they told you you were not good? They told you other people did it better. They told you to be quiet. So the body is going to shut down to the point where you are quiet, right? So how do I manage this? Well, the truth is that it's taken me a long time. But the most important part of this, I think, for me, has been being able to admit to other people that I have stage fright around singing. And for the longest time, I didn't want to tell anybody. For the longest time, it was very embarrassing for me because I studied public speaking. I studied getting on stage and being in front of an audience and being able to deliver something from me, my brain, my heart to an audience, right? What's the difference? And we talked a little bit about that, so I won't go into it again, the education versus the entertainment. But, I didn't want to tell anybody because in my head, I felt like it would diminish my authority as a public speaking coach. Oh, she has stage fright? Well, I don't want to learn from somebody with stage fright. I want to learn from somebody who is the most confident they've ever been whenever they handle a microphone, right? And that's fair. If that's where you are, I completely understand that, right? But I also think that there's something really transformative about working with someone who has an experience that you experience, right? If you're someone who has stage fright, do you want to work with someone who has no idea what stage fright is and is just like, do your power poses and here are your affirmations and you go girl and you got this? Does that help stage fright? I can tell you right now, it does not. It does not. None of those things actually help, especially if your symptoms and reactions to stage fright are physiological, right? If your body is doing something that your brain isn't telling it to do, those little tips and tricks, they don't work, right? So what has worked for me? Little by little understanding first and foremost, understanding where that stage fright came from. Because for me, my stage fright wasn't triggered by being on stage and having something happen while I was performing, okay? And so I think that that's a big common misconception about stage fright. Like you went to put yourself out there and then something happened and then you were like, I'm never doing that again. You retreat back. Not to say that couldn't be your situation. It absolutely could be your situation. But for me, it was something that happened before I ever even took the stage, right? My body is attempting to mentally and emotionally protect me by giving me physiological and physical signs that say, don't do that because you're about to get hurt again. You're about to have someone hurt your feelings. You're about to be criticized. You're about to be judged. Don't put yourself in that place to be rejected. Right? And so my physiological body is reacting to something that emotionally my body has told the story that I've been telling myself for years and years and years, which is I'm not a good singer and that nobody wants to hear me sing, right? And so they're immediately going to shut me down in the middle of my song, just like they did when I was in the backseat of my car, right? Okay, so all of this is going on behind the scenes, right? So first and foremost, I had to figure out where the source came from because I was never booed off stage. I've never been booed off stage. All of the years that I've been on stage, speaking or singing, never been booed off stage. So where did it come from, right? I found the source. Then once I found the source, I had to say, is this story true? Is this story that someone else is a better singer than me? Is this story that I shouldn't be singing because my voice is bad true for me now? Was it true when I was a kid? Probably. Was it true when I was a kid? Probably, right? Is it true now? After all my years of vocal coaching, after all my years of personal practice, after all my years of musical theater and choral concert and really developing my voice to be good as Amber Rose's singing voice. I'm not trying to compare myself to Mariah Carey, okay? I'm not a Mariah Carey. I know that I'm not a Mariah Carey, but can I sing? Yes. Is it okay that I'm not as good as Mariah Carey? Yes. Is it okay that I'm not as good as a lot of other singers out there? Yes. Is it okay that I have a good singing voice and I can acknowledge my accomplishment in creating and developing that singing voice? Is it okay that my voice sounds different than a lot of other singers out here? Is it okay that people are still going to be judgmental and critical of my voice? It's just a part of the game at this point, right? Are all those things okay? Yes, they are, right? Really began working through asking myself these questions rather than allowing this story that was put into my head as a child to continue playing over and over and over. The story is everybody else sings better than you. You are a bad singer. Be quiet, right? And that played in my head years, right? Okay. So what actually helped me start singing in front of other people? This is advice that's very similar to speaking, right? Prepare and practice. I can sing little things off the cuff. I feel most confident in my singing when I know, like, I have a place that I'm going to sing, I have a piece that I'm going to sing, and I know that I've practiced it, right? I have the most confidence when those three things, I know where I can prepare and I can practice. Absolutely. When I'm given those opportunities and then asked to sing, my stage fright comes down quite a bit, right? I still get the nerves. I still get real nervous and real anxious. Absolutely. But do I have the physiological reaction that I used to have in the past? I don't. Okay. And so I also like to know, knowing this about myself, right? I've applied my public speaking tools to my singing, my singing practice, right? But also knowing that I like to do it around people that I trust first, right? Part of the old narrative that lived inside my head for so long was somebody that I loved telling me I wasn't good and telling me to be quiet, right? And so then that kind of rocks you a little bit when you have someone you love go, you suck at that, stop. It's like, all right, they think it's a joke, you take it to heart, and then it festers, you're just like, ah. When you begin to develop trust with other people that ask me to sing, I mentioned my friend that I would sit in the living room with, and we would practice through the songs that he wrote, and then he'd be like, okay, I'm going to play, and now you sing. And really beginning to like just the two of us in a safe space where I know that like if he gives me criticism, it's actually going to be to the benefit of my developing singing voice. So starting with people that you trust is really important. And for me, even when my friends, karaoke's become a big thing now that all my friends know I have stage fright. I tried to hide it for so long. I now begin, part of my confidence journey is being honest, practicing my satya and like being very truthful about what it is that I experience when someone asks me to sing at karaoke, right? My whole body freaks out and I leave because I know someone's putting my name on that little piece of paper, and at some point they're going to call me and I'm going to be like, I know. So whenever somebody finds out, I immediately like, I'm out of here. I got to go, right? So now when I'm going to these places and people are asking me to sing, if I haven't had time to, I didn't know that we were, when people ask me to go to karaoke, I say, it's okay, I can go and I would love to support you, but I don't want to sing, kind of thing, Set the expectation, right? The other part of it is if I go and then they ask me, please sing, we want you to sing, we know that you're working on this, do it. I get to choose in that moment whether or not I want to. I get to choose whether or not the environment makes me feel safe enough to do that. I get to choose whether or not my friends have brought friends and I feel good enough to sing around, knowing that I have stage fright that impacts me physically, right? You get to pick and choose your moments. The way that I manage mine is, yes, of course I want to be prepared, but if I'm ever in that moment where I'm not prepared and I feel like people are pressuring me, I put my foot down and I say, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. Thank you for thinking of me. Maybe next time, but like, no, Right? I saw this Instagram video last night that I thought was so great. It was just a woman standing in her kitchen practicing saying no. And I actually had to do this when it came to going out with my friends to do things like karaoke, where I had to say like, no, thank you. If I was feeling too pressured, I would leave. But I finally was like, I don't want to leave. I love going to karaoke. This is so fun. I like to sing the songs with other people. I like to get up and dance. When people started pressuring me to sing, I'm like, you don't understand what you're doing to me right now. And we're in a bar and I don't have time to explain it to you. But the answer is no, right? And I used to have to practice not getting defensive and not getting worked up because the last thing I wanted was for them to surprise me by putting my name on the sheet and then me being like, I told you no, kind of thing, right? So I had to start practicing saying no and why, right? I'm not going to do it tonight. I don't feel very comfortable. I have really bad stage fright around singing, and not tonight, guys. It's not tonight, maybe another time. But and also, respect it, man. Respect it, because you don't know what stage fright is like, right? So, with public speaking, it tends to be a little bit more interesting. I think that you can practice speaking for education in a way that you are always prepared before you get on stage. But for me, learning how to say, I'm not taking this opportunity, big or small, because I just don't feel comfortable, or the space that I've been in is not really where I want to be, has really helped me manage it. So I want to talk for a second about, let me back up, because I also want to say, this is true for speaking and singing. It's okay to flop. That was another thing I really had to come to terms with. It's okay to have one of those nights where like, you suck. It's okay. You're going to have those times where you teach a class and you don't feel like you've taught it to the best of your ability. There are going to be those times where you speak at a retreat and for some reason things aren't clicking the way that they did at your other retreats, right? Not every speech is going to be a banger. Not every song is going to whisk the audience off their feet. And while I've been learning to manage my stage fright around that, it's been really helpful to acknowledge the fact that like, there's going to be flops. You're going to miss a key. You're going to go off pitch. It's going to happen. You can't be perfect all the time, right? There's going to be speeches where you are thinking, you see somebody in the audience and you think something and you go, where was I? Right? And that's okay. It's part of the development. It's part of the learning experience. And you can talk to any business owner, any entrepreneur, any teacher, leader, coach, whatever it is. You learn the most from the flops. It's really nice to have everything go smooth and be awesome all the time. But it's those times where you flop that you learn the most about yourself, about what you're teaching, about your offers, about your business. Those flops are necessary. So my biggest piece of advice to you when it comes to stage fright is to 1, learn its source. 2, learn how it is that you can manage it, big or small. And then 3, be very open to flopping, because you're going to learn the most from those places that are going to help you. And I think at the end of the day, I have sung in front of other people where I did not sing well. And one of the things that I learned the most from that in terms of helping to cure my stage fright is that it didn't kill me. Not only did it not kill me, it didn't make people like me any less. They just were like, not your best work. All right, moving on. Right? And so if that's helpful to anybody that has stage fright, I hope it is, because flopping is not a bad thing. And there's definitely ways that definitely things that you learn from those experiences. So in terms of confidence specifically, I want to say that there are a couple of misconceptions that people have about being confident, and we're going to wrap up today's episode talking about these confidence things specifically. So one of the misconceptions that I hear a lot about confidence is that if you're confident with one thing, then you're confident with all the things, right? I get a lot of people who come at me when I admit my stage fright, and they say, how can you be such a great public speaker and have stage fright with singing? Like, they're the same thing. Like, I can't wrap my mind around it. And I was like, that's fine. It's not for you to wrap your mind around. It's for me to handle and manage, and just know that like, that's a thing, right? You can be extremely confident with one thing in your life and have other things in your life that you're not confident with. I'm Amber Rose. I'm your confident public speaking coach, and I'm here to tell you I have stage fright with singing. I still handle it. I still manage it. I still work with it. Sometimes I do have to sit down and just be humble with me and my singing voice, because I wish my singing voice was at the level that my speaking voice is. I wish it was. I wish it could be, right? It's just not. And it took me a long time to be able to admit that to other people as a professional in a public speaking field, but it's the truth, right? So as you're working on your own confidence, I want you to be mindful that just because you're not necessarily as confident in whatever it is that you're working on, if you're confident, and just know that you can build confidence in other things. Okay. And similarly, the second misconception that I hear a lot is if you don't have confidence in one thing, that means you can't build confidence in anything else. Okay. It kind of sounds like the first one, but it's not, right? When people think that you don't have confidence in one thing, or they don't have confidence in this one thing that they're working on, then they go, well, I can't build confidence in anything else until I get this. But that's not true, right? You're going to have different confidence levels with different things in your life, and that's okay. It's totally normal. It's totally natural. What you don't want to do is cut yourself off at the knees and then just not be building any confidence around anything, right? It's okay to have different levels of confidence for different activities and behaviors in your life. Just know that you're going to have different levels. That's it, right? It's not an all or a nothing scenario. And then the third misconception that I see a lot is that it's a misconception that people have about confident people. It's that when we see a confident person, that we believe that they never don't feel confident, right? You're always confident. You're always confident out here. You must be like the most confident person in the world. It's like, even those of us that have a lot of self-confidence around the things that we do every day, we have our moments where we don't. We have our moments when we don't. So if you're out here and you're working on your self-confidence right now, and then you have a place in your life where you're like, man, I don't feel confident at all right now. Does that mean I'm a confident person? Yeah, it does. It means that you had a moment where you didn't feel that way. And that's okay. It means that you had a situation that you didn't feel that way. That's okay. You don't get your confidence card revoked when you have those moments when you don't feel confident. You get to keep your card, because confidence is an ever-evolving experience inside of your human person. Okay? Confidence coaching practices are individualized to the person. Why? Because confidence is individualized to every single person. The thing that makes me feel confident, those things may not make you feel confident, right? The things that make you feel confident may not make me feel confident. One of the things that makes me feel the most confident is when someone hands me a microphone in a room full of strangers. I love it. I love it. And I'm like, let's do this. If I handed you a microphone in a room full of people and asked you to speak, how would you feel about that? About 85% of the population would say absolutely not. Right? So when we're building our confidence practices, it's really important that you understand that there are things in your life that will help you ignite your confidence, and there are things that will not. And that those things are going to be different between you and your best friend, between you and your family, between you and your spouses and your kids. They're different for every single person on the planet, okay? That's why there's no book that's been written that says this book will make you 100% a confident person. They can't promise that, because they have to work with you individually on building that, right? And so I want you to understand that building confidence, it's a consistent practice, and it takes consistent maintenance, right? The things that make you confident will also change from year to year. The things that bring you happiness and joy are going to change as you evolve. As you become a different person, as you evolve and change and grow, those things change, right? We as a society are not taught to question the things that bring us happiness or the things that make us feel confident. As a matter of fact, and especially as a woman in the United States of America, we are taught to constantly question the things that bring us joy. We are taught to constantly question whether or not we are worthy of our self-confidence, right? Nobody's taught you how to dive in to the things that make you feel happy, to the things that make you feel confident, to make time for those things. Nobody taught us any of that, right? That's why I'm here. I am here to help you find the things that bring you joy and give you confidence. And for the things that don't, and you want them, like singing. I love singing. I love singing. Ask me to sing for another person, and I swear to gosh, I crumble under the pressure, right? Does that mean that I don't love singing? No. It means that there is this experience that happened to me as a child that is impacting my love for singing for other people as an adult. And I can work on that. Those are things that I can actively work on, right? And so you find people like myself, you find programs like Vibrant Confidence, you find curriculum that helps you work through those things, and then you work through those things so that you can do them. You know why? Because you love them and they deserve to be with you. You may have these experiences from your past that have stopped you from engaging in things that make you feel happy or make you feel confident, but you deserve them for the woman that you are right now, for the experience, the fulfillment that you want to feel right now, right? So there's two ways that you can do this. I'm talking more and more about confidence practices. Building your confidence practice is something that you have to do on your own. You don't have to do it on your own, but you have to build it for yourself, right? It's not something that someone else can give you, right? You have to figure out what those things are, and then you have to practice them. But also know that, like, yes, you do, because it's individualized, you do some of that work yourself, but it doesn't mean that you have to do the work that you outline alone. You can do it with other people. And again, find those people you can trust. I have people in my life that I trust, that if I went up to them and I said, can I sing you a song right now? 5 years ago, that would have turned me into a shaky mess. But today I know that I have people that I could go up to and say, can I sing you a song? And they would sit on the couch and they go, yep. And I would stand in front of them and I would sing it. I would perform it for them. And then they would clap. That's trust, right? That's building trust in me and my audience and my singing voice. And that's really important to do. Alone, what I did was create a confidence practice where I still do my vocal exercises. I still learn how to sing songs that are challenging, right? I still take my little, I'll go sing in a public place and then I go back and, eventually I'll be singing on a stage somewhere. Am I there now? Not quite yet, but I'm working on it, right? And that's the important part. And last but not least, building a speaking practice really allows you, or building a confidence practice really allows you to practice it on a consistent basis so that you are continuing to build it, right? Some other coaches will say this is getting you out of your comfort zone. We got to get you out of your comfort zone. So then you realize getting out of your comfort zone is not that scary, right? It's not that scary to be out of your comfort zone. Where you are right now, especially if you experience stage fright, not little nerves, not nervous, not anxiety, little bits of anxiety. If you experience actual stage fright, the idea of getting out of your comfort zone will physiologically harm your body, right? So we don't want to push you out of your comfort zone so that you realize it's not that scary. Your body already thinks it's scary. And so what we want to do is build a practice that allows you to expand your comfort zone, right? Whatever that looks like for you. I'm going to continue using the example of my singing stage fright, right? For me, it was about recording myself on the computer and listening to myself back, right? Alone by myself. Nobody else can hear this. Nobody else is here to be critical or to judge it or anything like that. I would just record a couple of songs. I would do the video so I could see my face and how weird I look when I sing because my face does look weird. And sometimes I would just, do singing into my phone on a voice note and I would listen to it and I'd be like, I feel like I sound good. And that's the most important part, is that I feel good about what I'm hearing. I feel good about what I'm saying, right? That's where I started, right? I found the source and I go, okay, that source is not from me. That source was from a family member that put a thought in my brain and it's been living here, but that's not me, right? And I've done all these years of training. So now what do I actually think? What do I actually think about my singing voice now? And that's how I started. And then slowly, there were times where I would actually go to sing on a stage and I would have the mic in my hand and I would actually put it down and just walk off. I've had those experiences. Very disappointing, but also I think it's a part of getting out there, right? To get on the stage, you know what? I'm not ready to do this. Sorry about that. Usually like karaoke and stuff, so it wasn't impacting anybody's event or anything, but it was just like, you know what? That's not what I want to do. I did do a show with my friend that I sat in the living room with. He gave me a small little singing part in his song, and I was like, that was enough. That little chorus, those little backups, that was enough for me, right? And then slowly coming out, one of my favorite stories about being forced to do karaoke and having a great time was when my best friend from high school was getting married. We went out the night before rehearsal dinner. And she knows I can sing. She's been hearing me sing since we were little kids, right? She also knows that I have stage fright. She knows that I don't like to sing in front of other people, but this was her wedding weekend. And she goes, I know you can sing. I know you can. This is my wedding weekend, and I want to hear you sing. You're in my bridal party, and it's time for you to do it. So get up there. And it was one of those things where I feel like I should have been more mad because I felt pressured, but also it was so fun. She doesn't ever act like that with me at all. She's very nice and kind to me as a friend. She never really has that gumption to tell me what to do. I'm the one that has a lot of the external gumption for things in our friendship. And so when she did that, I was like, she is not playing around. This is her wedding weekend, and you got to get up and sing. And I got up and I sang a Whitney Houston song, and it was freaking awesome. I had the best time of my life, right? And in those moments where, like, before I started to sing, my hands were shaking. My body hadn't quite caught up and my hands were shaking. And I was like, I'm not even going to pay attention to it. And I got up and I sang, and luckily, Whitney's one of those artists where everybody in the bar was singing, so it made me feel a lot better. I wasn't by myself. And when I sing karaoke, I tend to pick songs that are happy and other people know the lyrics too. So yeah, I'm on the stage singing? Yes. But is everybody else singing too? And we're bopping and we're having fun? Also yes, right? You're never going to see me doing a slow karaoke song because I'm not trying to have all those eyes on me. And also, when you sing slow karaoke songs, people are just waiting for you to finish, okay? I want people dancing. I want people singing along. And that's how, again, I help get over my stage fright. So if this is something that you experience, I want you to know that I experience it also. This is it's been a journey to get over, but I think for those of you who want to be teachers, who want to be speakers, who want to be coaches, it's really important for you to understand that this is something that you can overcome if you want to. Same with building your self-confidence. Getting over your stage fright, it's not a light switch on and off. It's not like one day you have stage fright and one day you don't. It's a process and it's a journey, right? One that I have gone through, one that I can absolutely help you with if that is what you are struggling with right now. I really want you to know that it is something that you can overcome, and you can begin to fulfill those dreams that you have of being a teacher, a speaker, a leader in your industry without, I'm not going to say without stage fright, because I still have stage fright. It still happens to me, right? But to have stage fright but not allow it to be so debilitating or overwhelming to the point where you're not doing the things that you want to be doing because of it, right? Those are things that we can help you with inside of Vibrant Confidence. And I'd be happy to speak with you if stage fright has been something you experienced for years and you are so now ready to get over it. You deserve to be following your dreams and be over your stage fright. So don't be afraid to reach out to me. Hey, I want to say thank you so much for allowing me to be vulnerable about something that took me a really long time to admit in public. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. We do have a brand new mini course up in Vibrant Confidence. It's called Confidently Speaking. For those of you who are developing your confident speaking voice, this is the absolute perfect mini course for you. We start off talking about your confident mindset, getting in front of other people. How is it that you build confidence to stand up, share what it is, the information that you have to share, and be a speaker and a leader? We also talk about those beginning stages of teaching. How do you create your curriculum? How do you build your audience? What do you talk about? When do you talk about it? With who do you talk about it with, right? And at the end of Confidently Speaking, we put both the confidence building skills and the public speaking skills together so that you can really represent yourself. You can represent your business, your offer, your services, putting together the confidence and the speaking skills, obviously, two of my favorite things in the world. I really wanted you to be able to go out and give an elevator pitch to someone confidently, right? to accept these profitable opportunities to go out and speak and teach in your communities with the curriculum that you have, right? So this is a 5 lesson mini course that'll walk you through all of that. It's now available up on Vibrant Confidence. So definitely take a peek at that. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Vibrant Voice. My name is Amber Rose West. I'm your host, and I will be back with you the first Monday of next month with a fresh episode for you. Until then, I'll see you online.